On this second side of the worksheet today, we're talking about graphing from vertex form. Vertex form, your equations will look like this. Instead of standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, which we've been using for the last 2 days, you're going to be using vertex form, which looks like this. A times x minus h squared plus k. In this format, you are actually given the vertex. The vertex is the opposite of h, comma, k. The vertex is opposite of h, comma, k. That is an ordered pair in parentheses. The axis of symmetry is x equals the opposite of h. The coefficient, the value in front of x squared, still tells you whether the parabola opens up or down. So let's take a look at number 2, which is actually the first one. In number 2, negative 2 is in the place of h from the formula y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So negative 2 is in the place of h. My vertex is the opposite of h. So the opposite of negative 2 is 2, comma, k. In this case, k is negative 1. So my vertex is at 2, negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead down to my graph and plot the point at 2, negative 1. Notice the scale on this graph. Here's 2. Here's negative 1. So it looks like I put it at 4, negative 2, but according to the scale, I've gone to 2, negative 1. Always be careful to watch the scale on your graph. The coefficient still tells me whether parabola opens up or down. In this case, I can see that I would have a positive 1. A is still what tells me if it opens up or down. And in this question, I have an understood 1, so positive. So opens up. So I'm going to do the same thing I did the last couple days. I'm going to go over 1, but be careful on the scale. Up 1. Then I'm going to go over 1, up 3. I know that looks a little bit weird, but this is how the scale counts on this graph. From the same other side, over 1, up 1, then over 1, up 3, and sketch in my parabola. So I've done this first part, sketch the graph of the function. I used the vertex, which was at the opposite of hk, to get started. And then I used the pattern of counting to keep my graph going. Next it says, state whether the vertex is a max or min. Well, since this parabola opens up and my vertex is down here at the bottom of the parabola, my vertex is a minimum. The third thing that the directions ask us to do is to name the zeros of the function. Just like on the other side of the paper, the zeros are these two places, or the x-intercepts. So this is one of my x-intercepts, and that's the other one of my x-intercepts. Be careful to watch the scale. This x-intercept is at 3, 0, and this x-intercept is at 1, 0. Okay, let's try that all again with this problem. On this problem, I'm looking for my vertex. My vertex is at the opposite of h, comma, k. The opposite of h is -3, and k is 2. So my vertex is at -3, +2. To continue to sketch the graph, I need to think about what A is. In this case, A is -2, which means my parabola is going to be opening down. Also, since it's -2, that's going to double my slope, which means when I'm doing my pattern, which is usually over 1, down 1, instead I'm going to go down 2, double. The next step would be over 1, down 3. Instead, I'm going to go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You double the pattern since there is a 2 in front. Same thing on the other side. Normally down 1. Instead, I'm going to go down 2, double. Over 1, I normally go down 3. Instead, I'm going down 6. And the reason my pattern is doubling, because I have times 2. A makes that happen. Sketch in the graph of the parabola. Finish answering the question. State whether the vertex is a max or a minimum. Since my vertex is at the top of the graph, it is a maximum. And the directions also say name the zeros. Remember, the zeros are the x-intercepts. So these are my zeros. This one is at -2, 0. Remember to pay attention to what the scale is on your graph. And -4, 0. Use this information to complete number 4 and 5. You do not have to do 6 and 7.